I'm 85 years old, and there is one choice I regret every single day. I don't say that lightly. At my age, you don't use words like that unless you mean them. Regret isn't something I carry loudly. It's quiet. It sits with me. It wakes up when I wake up. It follows me through the day without asking for attention. Most mornings, I sit in the same chair and wait for my body to catch up with the fact that I'm awake. My hands don't move the way they used to. My thoughts move more slowly too, but they go deeper. There's not much rush left in my life. What's left is memory.
When you reach this age, time changes shape. You don't think in years anymore. You think in moments you can still picture clearly. And when I look back, there is one decision that stands out. Not because it ruined everything all at once, but because it quietly shaped everything that came after. I'm not telling this to be forgiven. I don't need anyone to tell me it's understandable. I know it was. That's part of what makes it harder. I'm telling it because this choice felt reasonable at the time, sensible, even responsible. That's how most regrets begin. When I was young, I believed in doing what was expected of me. I believed in duty, in staying the course, in not rocking the boat. I grew up in a time when you didn't talk much about feelings. You did what needed to be done, and you kept moving. In my 20s, I had plans. Not dreams exactly, plans, practical ones. Work hard, build something solid, be reliable. I wanted to be respected more than I wanted to be happy, though I didn't know to put it that way then. I met people along the way who wanted more from me emotionally. They wanted conversation, presence, time. I didn't refuse them outright. I just postponed them. I told myself there would be time later. That was the choice, not one dramatic decision, not walking away from something obvious, just choosing later over and over again, choosing productivity over presence, choosing what looked responsible over what felt alive. At the time, it made sense. I had bills to pay, a reputation to build, a role to fulfill. People depended on me, or at least I believed they did. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't absent in the obvious ways. I showed up physically. I was there at the table, in the house, in the routine. But my attention was always split. My mind was always elsewhere. I thought that counted. I worked long hours and came home tired. Conversations became shorter because I didn't have much left to give. I listened, but only enough to respond. I nodded. I agreed. I postponed. I didn't realize how often postponing is the same as refusing. The cost didn't appear immediately. That's the dangerous part. Nothing collapsed. Nothing exploded. Life went on, smoothly even. Days filled themselves. Weeks passed. Years stacked up quietly. I told myself this was adulthood, that everyone lived this way, that wanting more connection was unrealistic. I told myself stability mattered more. There were moments that should have stopped me. Invitations I declined. Conversations that started and faded. People who tried to get closer and slowly learned not to try anymore. I noticed them, but not enough to act. The first real sign came when someone I had known for years stopped calling. There was no argument, no explanation, just silence. I assumed they were busy. They probably assumed I was too. Silence is very good at disguising endings. As time went on, I found myself with fewer people who really knew me, not because I pushed them away intentionally, but because I never fully let them in. I had chosen safety over vulnerability, predictability over honesty. And I told myself, That was maturity. By the time I was in my 40s and 50s, my life looked settled. From the outside, it made sense. I had done what I said I would do. I had built something that didn't fall apart. But inside, something had grown thin. I remember sitting alone one evening, long before old age, and realizing I had no one I could call just to talk. Not because there was no one in my life, but because I had trained myself and everyone else that I was not that kind of person. I was dependable, not available. That difference didn't seem important when I was younger. It seems enormous now. The turning point didn't come with drama. It came quietly. Someone I had been close to once passed away. We hadn't spoken much in years. Life had pulled us in different directions, or maybe I had. At the service, people shared stories, memories I had no part in, versions of that person I never knew because I wasn't there long enough to know them. I realized then how much of life happens without you when you choose to stay on the surface. That realization stayed with me, not as panic, as weight. As the years passed, the world didn't suddenly empty. It thinned. People moved away. Some died. Others simply stopped reaching out, not out of anger, out of habit. The same habit I had practiced for decades. At some point, I stopped being surprised by the quiet. And now, at 85, I see the shape of it clearly. The choice I regret is not choosing connection when it was available, not choosing to say the thing that felt uncomfortable, not choosing to slow down when slowing down felt irresponsible. I thought I was choosing later, but later isn't a place you arrive at. It's something you lose. There are things now that cannot be fixed, conversations that will never happen, questions I will never ask, versions of relationships that existed only in possibility. Time doesn't give explanations. It doesn't care about your reasons. It just moves on. I live with that knowledge now, not with bitterness, with clarity. There is gratitude here for the life I lived, for the moments that were real, for the people who stayed as long as they did. And there is sorrow, quiet, steady, the kind that doesn't demand resolution. If you're listening to this, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I don't believe in instructions anymore. Life is too complicated for that. But I can tell you what I wish I had known. The choices that feel safest are not always the ones that leave you full. Being reliable is not the same as being known. And postponing connection is not neutral. It shapes your life whether you notice it or not. You don't feel the cost of delay while you're delaying. You feel it when there's no one left waiting. Now, my days are slow, simple. I have time now, more time than I ever allowed myself when it mattered. There's a kind of irony in that I don't try to argue with anymore.
I spend that time remembering, sitting with what was, accepting what can't be changed. If this meant something to you, maybe it's because it touched something you haven't named yet, or a future you hope to avoid. I won't tell you to hurry. I only know that life feels long, right up until the moment you realize how much of it you spent waiting. I'm 85 years old, and this is the one choice I regret every day. I carry it quietly, and I leave it with you.